Hello everyone, great that you want to join us on day 3 of our motorbike tour through Scotland on the North Coast 500. The North Coast 500, or NC500 for short, is a famous tourist route in the Scottish Highlands covering a distance of around 516 miles around the north coast of Scotland. The route begins and ends in Inveraray, where we will arrive on day 4. However, we have already picked out some great routes with lots of sites beforehand. As always, you can find the GPX track below in the description. But now have fun with our riding impressions and the second part of our 9-part series. Day 3 takes us from Edinburgh, the capital of Scotland, via Loch Lomond and Inveraray, on Loch Fyne to the small harbour town of Oban on the west coast of Scotland. After a delicious breakfast, we set off early for Edinburgh. Edinburgh has been the hilly capital of Scotland with 500,000 inhabitants since the 15th century. In addition to the medieval Old Town, Scotland's second largest city also has an elegant Georgian new town which we drive through on Leith Street. We pass impressive buildings and understand why Edinburgh has the second strongest economy of any city in the United Kingdom after London. While brewing, banking and insurance, as well as printing and publishing, were the main economic sectors in the 19th century, the focus in the 21st century is primarily on financial services, scientific research, higher education and tourism. Over 4 million tourists visit the city every year, with Germans being the second largest group after Americans. You would actually have to spend at least a few days in Edinburgh to get a small impression of this exciting city. We could list all the great sights that we haven't seen, but that would be pretty pointless. And besides, our video is about a motorbike tour on the NC500, so we've linked to an interesting travel guide at the top right if you want to discover Edinburgh for yourself. Unfortunately, we have to move on. We leave Edinburgh heading west in light rain. After just a few miles, you have the feeling of being completely surrounded by greenery. The area is flat and calm. That's not a bad thing, because it gives us a chance to wake up and relax. An enduro bike is certainly a good choice here, if you take a look at the poor tarmac. The road surface is very coarse and rough. You get the impression that coarse gravel has simply been poured onto the tarmac. The tires do the rest. You should fit new abrasion-resistant tires on this tour, if possible. Our 80/20 Dunlop Mutant tires were ready for the bin after the tour. No, we're no longer in Edinburgh, but driving through South Queensferry towards the Queensferry crossing bridge, which you can already see on the horizon. It's a boring motorway bridge, but it's right next to the famous Red Forth Bridge, a railway bridge. This is exactly where we want to go. The fourth bridge is a double-track railway bridge, which had the largest span in the world when it opened in 1890. As large cantilever bridges were not yet widespread, efforts were made to gain the public's trust in the new bridge through practical demonstrations. This resulted in the famous photo in which the engineers in charge demonstrated the bridge's functional principle. For further demonstration purposes, directors of the railway companies involved drove over the bridge several times before the opening. Nothing happened. But perhaps it was also due to the good Siemens Martin steel from Germany that was used. This allowed the king to ceremoniously place the last specially gold-plated rivet at the opening. Following in the footsteps of Maria Stuart, we drive through her birthplace Linlithgow. Okay, of course most people know that a much more important person will be born in Linlithgow. Who will? Yes, on 28 June 2222. Of course, we're talking about Montgomery Scott, or better known as Scotty, for whom a memorial is seriously to be erected in the town. Live long and prosper. Racing cars, vintage cars, classic cars. What inspires again and again is the love of the English and of course the Scots for unusual cars. We've already got to know racing cars in the first episode of our series, and now we've passed some beautiful classic and vintage cars, some still with their old license plates. Shortly after 11 AM, we've driven a quarter of the day's stage and are starting to get hungry. Just before Fintry, in the middle of nowhere, we spot a sign for a cafe where we can do something about our hunger. Other bikers also seem to have come up with this idea. The small Courtyard Cafe, with its beautiful outer area, offers a great selection of delicious food. As well as lots of cakes, homemade jams and pastries, you can also get main courses, sandwiches, ciabattas and soups. All dishes are freshly prepared to order on site using ingredients from their own farm shop and from the region. We haven't had better scones, a typical British national pastry, anywhere else. The warm scones are often served with butter, jam or honey, but with clotted cream for tea. At lunchtime, the cafe quickly fills up with guests from the region, clearly a hotspot. The charm of the cafe is due in no small part to its super friendly staff. Thumbs up and a 5-star rating on Google. So, full and satisfied, we continue on towards Loch Lomond. The small village of Fintry in the centre of Scotland has been around since the early 17th century. Fintry is the winner of the Best Kept Small Village in Britain and Britain in Bloom competitions. Behind Fintry and the Fintry Hills, a wide expanse of land opens up to us with the typical hedgerows and stone walls along roads and fields. They mark property boundaries but also serve as windbreaks. They not only provide protection against wind and weather for grazing cattle, but also prevent the erosion of crop seeds or the kinking of stalks. The so-called dry stone walls have a centuries-old tradition and are often simply built from layered stones without mortar or other binding agents. The local population attaches great importance to their care and maintenance. The range of hills we drive through here is called the Kempsey Fells. The name is derived from one of the hills, called Kempsey, which means Crooked Fairy Hill. Fells has its origin in the Old Norse word for hill. The chain of hills was formed over 300 million years ago. Yes, everything is very old in Scotland. It is also said to be the birthplace of Scottish skiing. After the first skier came down a hill here with his wooden boards in 1892. The hill is 570 meters high. Originally, we wanted to sit on the terrace of the Duck Bay Hotel on Loch Lomond and look out over the lake, known as Loch in Scotland, and choose a duck for lunch. But it was probably a bit too rainy for the ducks. Lucky for them, one can only say. Loch Lomond is the largest and some say the most beautiful lake in Scotland. Countless stories and songs have described the loch over the centuries. It has been part of a national park since 2002. The quiet eastern shore is mostly wooded and almost inaccessible by car. We are here on the lively south shore, where you can also rent small holiday homes, and in the evenings you can enjoy the local whiskey on your own terrace. Guess what it's called? Even Captain Haddock drinks exactly this brand because Tintin and Snowy weren't allowed to yet. In Scotland, alcohol can only be bought and drunk from the age of 18. The journey continues along wet, narrow and dirty single-track roads. The possible speed of 60 miles per hour is not always advisable here. These small roads have small passing places at regular intervals. Waiting is permitted, but parking is of course prohibited. As not only motorhomes but also buses or lorries come towards you, these passing places are urgently needed. At these points, you wait in the passing bay on your own side, on the left, very important, for oncoming traffic and greet them in a friendly manner. Most people also understand that you should wait here to let the fast traffic behind you pass, like us, for example. Now we can also see why there were no drone signs everywhere a few miles ago. We drive past one of the Royal Navy's many bases here at Gairloch, His Majesty's Naval Base Clyde. 4 submarines with nuclear weapons are stationed here. In addition to British submarines, US and French nuclear submarines also regularly call at the base. This explains the massive fences we are driving past. Double yellow line means no stopping. Did you recognize it? We didn't as we drove by. Maybe public area 1/4 mile. Besides the rain and the strong wind, this was one of the reasons why we were so rarely able to fly the drone. In the meantime, the rain had been pelting down on us for a while. The panorama here at Loch Long was beautiful, probably superb in the sunshine, but we wanted to experience the real, unadorned Scotland. As we progressed, the route became extremely, well, undulating. In Germany, the roads around the lake would be perfectly flat, but here the road builders have created a roller coaster of mountains and valleys. If you drive too fast, you can jump over the crests and disappear to the valleys behind them. The view of the road ahead is therefore severely restricted, and you should not drive too close to other road users. The road sign Blind Summit warns of the crests and Hidden Dip warns of the blind valleys. The ups and downs are not really clear in the video, but my pilgrim passenger had to take a seasickness pill at some point. No joke. Just a moment. What? Rockfall hazard with flashing lights? Oh, I think it's flashing. We are now just before Inveraray, a village on the banks of Loch Fyne with a population of around 500. The town is a tourist center in the region and many visitors want to see the castle of the same name, Inveraray Castle. We are already in a bit of a traffic jam. What might the traffic be like when the weather is nice? In addition to the castle, a large part of the village are listed buildings and everything is fully developed for tourism. The buildings are built in the Georgian style and are often treated with a special rough cast and whitewashed. And of course there are plenty of paid parking places at the small harbour, where we later struck up a conversation with a KLR 650 driver. Okay, conversation is perhaps a bit of an exaggeration given his strong Glaswegian accent. He tells us about his short journey from Glasgow and the many modifications he has made to his motorbike. We understand about a third of it and not diligently. The beautiful town center has everything a tourist's heart desires, including more tablets against seasickness in the local pharmacy. As we are not fans of Downton Abbey, where you can see Inveraray Castle from the inside, we save ourselves the £18 entrance fee per person and drive on. Luckily, the rain finally stops after Inveraray and we can relax and enjoy our drive. We have now arrived at Loch R and we are just passing the lonely Portsonachan Hotel in the village of the same name. The freshwater lake is particularly popular with anglers. For its spectacular location and breathtaking views, the hotel was awarded the prize for the most scenic hotels and lodges in Scotland in 2022. If you don't want to spend the night in a hotel, you can of course come to the loch in a camper van. However, you should not park your motorhome permanently in a passing place. Remember, that is forbidden here and is punishable by a fine of at least £44. Ooh, where have we ended up here? Even if there is no fort to be seen, we soon reach the village of the same name. All over Scotland you can still see the old red telephone booths that have been a favorite photo motif for tourists for decades. Sometimes they look a bit sad, like here, but often they are still in use, for example as bookcases. Thank you for letting us pass, and here it is clearly explained once again what you should do. Yes, the wiser head or the smaller one gives way. And while the average speed continued to drop, we skidded happily along the dirty and wet roads. One thing was clear, we wouldn't win the prize for the cleanest motorbike at the end of our day's stage. In the end, we even had trouble getting the key into the panniers. There must be a reason for the electric central locking system on the new BMW GSA, right BMW? Don't be surprised, but we're still driving around Loch R. Yes, for about 1.5 hours. This loch is not 1 mile wide, but 21 miles long. After all, it's the third largest loch in Scotland. Its shape was created by glaciers during the Ice Age. Many streams and rivers feed the lake, which drains into the Atlantic Ocean via another lake at the end. Shortly before Oban, we join a group of bikers because after 8 hours of traveling, we want to arrive slowly at our destination in Oban. Just a few miles before Oban, we passed the Connell Bridge. Just like the fourth bridge we already knew this morning, this bridge has an impressive span. Only it is not wide, so traffic lights on both sides regulate the single-lane traffic. We drive through one of the brickwork approach bridges. To avoid having to look for a petrol station the next morning, we try to fill up the bike the night before so that we can start straight away in the morning. Refueling in Scotland is just as easy as at home, and all petrol stations accepted our Girocard. Sometimes you had to insert the card into the reader, but that was all. It's just before 6 when we reach Oban, our destination for today. Oban is located in a small bay on the west coast of Scotland and has less than 10,000 inhabitants. Nevertheless, the former fishing village has developed an almost urban character over the years. As an important ferry port to the Inner and Outer Hebrides, the town also attracts many tourists. In Germany, Oban is best known for the whiskey distillery of the same name. Although the distillery belongs to the Diageo Spirits Group, it is one of the smallest whiskey distilleries in Scotland. Over 150,000 people visit the distillery every year. 3 standard bottlings are offered, the flavor of which can be described as delicately peaty and smoky with fruit and a hint of salt. Unfortunately, we arrived in Oban after opening hours, but we have linked a short tour of the distillery above. Finally, we show you some impressions of our hotel in Oban, the number 17, The Promenade. It is located directly on the waterfront and offers beautifully furnished rooms, a stylish restaurant and a cozy bar. The staff are available around the clock and will even serve a scotch at 3 AM if you want one. If you enjoyed our video, we would be delighted if you liked or subscribed to it. See you soon for the next video of our trip to Scotland with the GS.